All right, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome. Let's do this. So here is going to be our friend tonight. This is who we are going to be basing. And we're going to be working on him. And as well as working on him, we're going to finish some stuff on my Kogrima. So here she is. I did some earlier work this weekend on her with some basic planning, and this is where I got her to. So I'm going to do a few steps on her. You can see kind of the basic point of what I'm doing, so I'll actually move some light over here so you can see it. So as you can see, you know, you've got different elements on the base. So Kogrima being the original model. I added this creel stone. I'll get my brush. So I added this creel stone for the main reason of just adding a little bit height, as well as adding, you know, a kind of an interesting faction-centric piece to raise her up. And then, as you can see down here, there's a lot of different elements of rocks and stuff, and that's just something I like to do. So, set her ass down. If you see anything, have any questions, feel free to ask. And just mention it to me. I want to make sure that we have, you know, we have as easy and as fun a time as possible. And the best way to do that is, you know, just for people to freely ask questions if you have them. I'm also watching the chat if need be, so feel free to throw comments in, and I will try and do what I can. And if it's too bright, let me know. I can definitely bring down the lighting a little bit. So, all right. So, when basing, definitely when basing, I like to have a general idea of what I do. So that is always a mainstay for me. So I like my bases to be very much organic and have a little bit of what I like to call organized chaos. All right, Mark. Who's the War Beast? Sorry, I haven't played in a few months. Charlie, this is actually the soon-to-be release. I think he's being released this week. This is the Dire Troll Brawler. He is our new normal reach heavy. He is 16 points, and he has 2-inch reach, and he's 4 Fury, and he's fantastic. So he is going to be a lot of fun, and needless to say, I want to get him I want to get him based and started to be painted so I can actually play him this weekend. I'm sorry if the lighting is a little blurred in here. It might be my camera. I'm not 100% sure. It looks a little fuzzy. It might be all the light I have. I'm not sure. So to answer you, Mark, really quick, just because I've got you here. So what I do is I start with Troll Blood base, and I take this and I desaturate it with like a gray or a black, so I bring it down so it's a little bit darker. I also take a little bit of Exile Blue, and I mix this very lightly into my Troll Blood base, and that's actually what I start my base skin tone with. I then get rid of, yeah, Doug, didn't you know? So then I move up through Troll Blood base, making sure that I use that as a mainstay, and I kind of do a lot of layers. And then I start mixing into my Troll Blood base, Underbelly Blue, and then I keep moving Underbelly Blue up and mixing more Underbelly Blue into my Troll Blood base until I get almost to pure underbelly, you know, of course getting smaller and smaller. And then I just start mixing some pure white. So I use Life Touch as my pure white, and that's what allows me a really, really strong white to get those highest highlights. And then for the darkest areas, I actually go back in and I'm looking for it real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Looking for my colors. And then for my base coat, I start painting in some sanguine base. I mix that into my base color, and I start putting that into the recesses. And then for the absolute deepest recesses, I use the holy grail of all paints. Let's get that focused. I use the holy grail of all paints, coal black, and I mix that in, and that only goes into the deepest, darkest recesses, just to add that, you know, to change my values a little bit. So hopefully that helps you with the paints that I use for my skin tones. But I am going to sometime do a video on that. But tonight's focus is going to be on basing. So to show everybody, this is one of the models. Let's see if I can get that in focus. This is one of the models that I finished his basing. As you can see, I added a Tharn because I like my models to be based with circle stuff because I despise them. And as you can see, there's a lot of different elements. This is an older base I built, and I hope to you know, update them a little bit since I've been doing that. Cool black face. Mark, I'm not 100% sure. It might be. I would assume so. Incubi Darkness, I think that's a little bit darker. I'm pretty sure I thought I had that here, but I'm not sure. It's just like a darker color. I don't really use too many. I don't use GW paints only because of the fact that I'm not a fan of the inconsistency. Like, I'll use some of their washes and I'll use some of their technical paints, but when it comes to what I use on a daily basis, I really enjoy the P3 line. Is absolutely one of my favorite. I own every one of those. And then I really like the Scale Color line. And those are my main go-tos. And then I've got a few Master Series paints in. I just like mainly use the paints that I like the effect of. So, yeah. So, Coal Black's a really good one. I don't know what it is in, I don't know what it is on GW, but I do know there is a painting, like, color guide on Daka. Yeah, but Coal Black is perfect. I use it in so many things. Like, it mixes into 90%. I use it as a base and a highlight for my blacks and just so much else. So, and it goes into a lot of my shades. But, alright, so let's get into basing. So, we've got the Brawler here, which was painted by, I don't remember if this one was painted by Dugas. I know Colgrima was painted by Dugas, by Brian Dugas. He did this one. But, I don't remember if he did the Brawler too. So, so first thing you're going to do is we have a base here and I have a general idea. So my general idea is I'm doing like a war-torn forest. So I like to have a lot of like runes and other like different levels of stuff to add depth to my bases. So as you see on this gristle that I'm repairing, you know, I've got like, when you look at this, like here I've got the like the stone. And then you see, like, here, I've got, like, this white piece. It is actually, like, a piece of rune that I made. And then I've got, like, some gravel and stuff that I use some pigments on. Of course, some circle stuff to kind of tie in the rest of my army. I have some different types of flock and some flowers. And then one of my favorite things are some leaves. I just like the effects. I go a little bit crazy sometimes. So one of the cool things that I do when I start basing, since it's absolutely my favorite part, is I get all of my supplies together. So one supply that a lot of people use almost exclusively a lot of times is they will use cork. And cork is super helpful, and it is an amazing place to start, and a lot of people will basically base only with cork, and it does wonderful things. But I've gotten to that point where I feel like cork just isn't enough of a natural look for my bases, because, you know, I'm going for a certain specific look. And so I use this mainly as filler, because since I'm not using cork as my main thing anymore, I actually upgraded to bark chips. And these are roughly, in all sense of the word, they are mulch. And just like, they come in just an absolutely assortment of sizes and stuff. And most of the time they're treated to keep, bugs and stuff out of the dirt. I actually have found some stuff, so I originally started buying stuff from Lowe's or Home Depot, and I got the huge pieces, like you can see here, which I might use on something like my Battle Wagon or the Mountain King to build very large pieces. And as you can see when I'm using this, is that it has a ton of texture, and that texture is very natural with the wood. And the cool part about that is that you can take something naturally like this, and after you prime it and then paint it, it comes out looking, very natural on your bases, and therefore you can emulate rock and such.
Did you get cat food?
I did not. 1 second.
Do you have any cash I can use to run
Cash, I don't. I'll give you my card, though.
Because then I can get milk.
Yeah, I was going to get it, but I was getting there at the time that your mom asked me to.
Do I need any pen or anything?
Nope. Okay.
I'll bring him back down.
Okay.
He should be okay.
Okay, love you. Sorry about that, folks. Family life. Alright, so we use cork. The main reason I'm going to be using cork is going to be for filler. And then the main breadth of my bases are going to be using these bark chips. And that's cool because they're easy to cut, easy to sand, easy to glue. And you can use them in such a varying manner that it's kind of like Legos for anybody who enjoyed those toys. And you can kind of connect them together in different ways. And it makes very natural and very interesting, dimensions that when you put your models on top of it, it just looks super, super interesting and just adds a lot of, it just makes it look cool. That's what it really comes down to. So after I get this stuff, then I will use a combination. Some places I will use basically your regular gap filling like glue, just because it's it's pretty fast to dry and does a lot of stuff, so that's super helpful. The second item I will use to put stuff down, which you can get at basically any craft store in the world, is I like Aleene's original tacky glue. This stuff is kind of hard to work with sometimes. It comes out of the bottle very well, but once it gets onto the base, it can be hard to maneuver and stuff. So I like to kind of keep stuff close to be able to move that around. A lot of times you might see me using a shitty brush, or I might use like a Q-tip or something. Anything that, basically if it gets destroyed, I'm not too worried about that. So after that, so those are kind of my basic stuff. Then I start getting into some more, faction or idea specific. So in this jar, I just have some gravel. It's different. This was a bunch of the I think it was Technical 9 or Gale Force 9. It was the ballast from it, and you could get different kits. They came in different sizes. And so what I like to do is I took the small, medium, and large, and I actually mixed them all together. And this is actually the last batch of what I have. And once I run out of this, I will definitely make some more. I've been using this for a very long time. And, this whole thing was filled at one point, and countless armies have used this. And it's cool because when you throw, keeping a container like this, you can easily take your model, and when the glue's on it, you can put them in there. And then kind of shake them around to add it in. Or you can put them into a larger container and then put the top back on it and shake it. And so that kind of helps. You'll notice in here there's actually pieces like this one that are actually already been glued together just because it fell off. Maybe it fell off while they were gluing. And that's kind of cool because when I put the glue down and something like this will stick to it, it just adds more of a natural look to the rock, and it just helps out. So that's something I will use. Something that I enjoy using, it's not required, but it is required for the army that I'm building just because it's the focus that I've been using, is I actually have these So they look kind of interesting, and they're this kind of cream colored. But this is sculpted runes that I made. And as you can see, some of them have a lot of dimension. So like this one has a little bit of runes on the top, and you can see like the different sizes and edges. And what I actually do with these is I actually make these and draw into a bigger piece, and then I bake it, and then I smash the shit out of it until they make all these broken pieces. And they just work very well for adding more depth and just another layer to what you're working on. So, as you're probably saying right now, there's a ton of stuff that we're throwing into this, and that is true. I am there, I do have a lot of things that I put, but the cool part is once you start putting all the pieces together and you just start kind of having fun with it and going crazy, you just start getting very interesting and dynamic bases that, kind of like Kolgrima here, and you're just throwing pieces on. They just start to get very interesting, and you can do a lot with them. And once they paint up, they're just very, they're impressive. One of the last things I will use, and I don't know if I'm going to end up using it tonight, just because it can be a little bit messy, depends on time, since I got started a little bit later than I wanted to, is I will use the Vallejo earth pastes. So this is the brown earth paste. They have a multitude of other colors. You can actually use this stuff straight out of the bottle, put it onto your bases, and just leave it. So after you get your army put together, you can put this stuff down. When it dries up with a lot of grit, much like some of the GW technical paints. It's a little messier to work with, but the cool part about this is I'll actually use this prior to painting, and it will tie in a lot of the nooks and crannies of my basing, and so therefore it fills it in and gives it more of a natural look. I don't have it on Kolgrima, but I do have it on... Hold on one second. I don't have it on Kolgrima, but you can see it here on my bouncer. I kind of mix it. Actually, you can't see it very well on this one either. Well, kind of. So this area right here, right there, it's in that mixture area. I don't know if you can see that real well. Right in there. That's actually just the earth paste put over it so that it actually ties it together, and you can see some here. I actually have a better model to show this. Hold on one second. Alright, I found a much better model. There we go. So, looking at him here, you can see like all of this dirt. Hold on, get this to focus. All of the dirt here around the tree, and like this middle area here on Grim, and then on the inside here, where you see all this like dirt coming up, that's all the brown earth paste, and it just ties. It allows me to create, areas in between the bark chips that are combined, so that the model looks like it's more than one. It looks like it's not just a bunch of pieces patchwork together. So you can get like interesting bases, and just playing around with it. And you can see that I kind of right here. So I have this is the runes that I showed you, the like pink ones. This is them. Well, what I did is I actually used the brown earth paste and I put it over that. And what it did is by putting it over the rune and the bark chips, it actually tied those two pieces together and made it look like it was worn in and mixed into the land. And I just like kind of that effect. And I mean, that works for some people. It doesn't work for others. But that's what I liked, so that's what I went for. So let me put this back, and we'll start building our base. So are there any questions currently? If there's any questions, let me know now so that I can answer them while I'm looking at the screen, and then we'll go into building. Can everybody hear me well? All right. We'll assume so. Okay. Turn down. All right. Here we go. So I can work on Cold Grima later once I get to that point with the Bash Brawler, but we're going to do this with him first. So first thing I want to do is, I know that the Brawler has, you know, he's going to have a little bit of a wider berth. Let me make sure I've got enough lighting here. What is that lighting? Oh, it's my shadow. There we go. So your sound is good. All right, good. I just wanted to make sure that I sounded good. Thanks, John. All right, here we go. So putting the Brawler on here, him being a bigger model, I know I'm going to want a little bit of height. Not as much as Cold Grima, who, as you can see, I added a solid like 2 inches to the top of. Really made her stand ahead. And then once she has her staff, which you can see here, she'll really like have it up there in the air. So it's just kind of something cool I was going for. I like to make my magic non-melee casters kind of stand out because they're usually standing at the back slinging spells. Well, the Brawler's going to be up in your face, and there's a few things I need to take into consideration. So the first thing I need to take into consideration is the fact that he has this giant long-ass ball on the back, and he has this kind of proddy, sharp ball on the front, as you can see. I need to make sure that those pieces are staying close enough in my base that when I am playing a game that they're still effective, and you know, they look good on the base, but they're not too far forward where it's pushing models out of the way and making the actual base not as good. So how am I going to do that? Let me raise my light up. So how am I going to do that? So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to first try and measure out where I want him on my base. So I don't mind that there's a little bit of overhang on the back, but for the most part that looks pretty good. So I know that I'm going to need a wide area here on the back, right about here, and I know that I'm going to need a wider area over to the right. So that means that gives me this whole front area. This gives me this whole front area just to kind of have fun with. So that means that if I want to add like a gully, or if I want to add maybe an extra circle piece to kind of show battle damage or something like that, this front area is going to be my area to play. So I'm going to build my base understanding exactly that. So let me set him down and boom. Alright, so as I said, if it gets a little bit louder, I apologize. My son is in here and he likes to play, and for some reason he doesn't understand that I sometimes like to record and noise can be a little bit annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this cork, which probably a lot of people have, and I'm going to start putting it down onto my base just to add depth to this middle area, because I want stuff to be a little bit of a different height. So I'm just going to tear some pieces off. I don't really care too much what the piece looks like when I'm done. I just know where I want it, and I know what I want to add. So since we're going to be focusing on this back part, I know that I want to kind of focus in on these areas like this, so I might need a little bit more. So I also want to make sure that I have like a lip. So I'm going to put this piece here, like so. So I'm going to use my glue. And I use this glue just mainly because of the fact that I know that cork will stick very well to it. Now you're going to notice that I'm only putting the glue in the middle part, not the whole thing, and I'm not putting it directly onto the cork. Now you're asking probably, why am I doing that? Well, the reason is that odds are I'm going to get tired of this piece of cork when I'm putting stuff in, and I'm going to want to tear pieces off of it. Cut pieces off of it using my X-Acto knife, and by not gluing the entire thing down, that's going to allow me to do it. If I do end up leaving the whole piece, then I can just glue stuff around it, and those extra pieces will actually keep the cork even more sturdy afterwards, so I don't really need to go back and do the glue. So it's just kind of a little bit of preventative thinking to make sure that I don't mess myself up. So we got that. We know that this front area here is going to be our gully. So to do that, just to make sure that I know that that's what I'm aiming for, I'm going to take a piece of frog tape and I'm just going to put it up here so that I know that, hey, this is the general area that I'm aiming to leave, like I'm aiming to have fun in. So I'm just going to measure, make sure that I've got enough room to do stuff, and we're looking good there. So back to work. So I'm going to then take this other piece. So if he's here, then that means that my other piece needs to go right about there. So that looks good, and I'll probably, as I said, I'm going to end up cutting into this to really add some more depth. So, because I'm going to be adding the bark chips, so I will throw a little bit here. Sorry if I went off camera. Add a little bit there. Pop this sucker in right there. And hold it for a second. Now, I already know that I'm going to be putting a lot of stuff around the edges, so I'm going to start cutting this down and kind of pulling away. So I'm not making direct cuts. I'm more or less cutting into it and then pulling away because I want that natural like break, because it creates natural edges, and those natural edges are what makes it look more natural when you are basing your stuff. And because if I just made a lot of straight cuts, then the person who's viewing the army is going to be able to say, hey, that's, obviously cork. And the one thing you want to do with cork is make it look not like cork. So there we've got our basic generic riser, and as I said, I'm only using the cork right now as gap filler because it's a little bit hard sometimes. The one downfall of bark chips is the fact that it has a really hard time like finding the perfect match for each one. So by using the cork, I'm able to kind of fill in where I need to. So right off the bat, I'm going to want to add this hefty piece into here because I know it's kind of thicker and I know where it's going to go. So I'm going to actually take this again and I'm going to cut into it. And this is what I was saying, like, I get very tired of cork super quick, but I like to throw it in there and then basically, as I'm adding pieces, kind of just put it, be able to pull stuff off so that, it still has a middle area and I can add on top of it, but, I don't have to just use the bark chips. So right there, that looks like a, good piece. It's going to give it a little bit of a different edge, a little bit of different height. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to take the tacky glue and I'm actually going to put a decent squab there. And then just to make sure that it stays in place, because this is important, I'm actually going to take some of this super glue and put it around the edge right there. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to jam it into the area that I want. Now, I always try to keep my bases as far into the lip as possible, and that's one reason I love P3 bases. There's a call out to Privateer Press for their bases. I love the lips because it actually gives me an area to aim for when I'm doing this. And I can always, as I said, I can always go back in and cut if I need to. But for right now, I know that that is going to work, and it should give me enough room when working with it. It should give me enough room to, place his foot on. And I can always come back and cut into this a little bit. And as you see right there, I already am going to have a good sized area for him to put his foot. And any of the gaps I'm going to fill with my brown earth or my rocks. And so it's just going to add different levels, and it just makes it look interesting. So here we go. So over here, I know that his foot is basically here. And it's going to go over into this area. So I'm going to start cutting into here. You know, being mindful of the fact that I'm trying to keep an area of... I'm trying to keep this area clear for fun time. And I need to find a good piece that I want to use. This looks like it could be an interesting piece. Now, something interesting and cool about bark chips is you kind of have to... You okay? Hold on one second, let me fix this. You're making too much noise, bud. Okay. Alright. So, then I'm going to come back to this other side. And I know, as I said, I'm going to do this. Well, I really kind of want to put this piece in. It's kind of a cool, interesting one. But it's a little bit too tall, as you can see here. So I kind of try to find how I want to put it in there. And I know I want to put it in there, but I don't know how I'm going to make it fit, because it's way too tall. So what I'm going to actually do is take my X-Acto knife, come over here, and I'm actually just going to cut, you know, a bit off it, right off the top, like that. And it still, even with cutting it, still has that natural grain, which is going to paint up well. And now I know that I can actually flip it over to how I want it. And like that, I'm now going to have a piece that fits kind of better how I want. So I'm going to pull the tape off. I'm going to move this tape because I know where I want it. And I am going to glue this piece in right there. Actually, I might cut in a little bit farther. Maybe I want a bigger piece. As I said, I love basing more than anything when it comes to the hobby, just because I kind of get to go crazy. And as I'm just kind of having fun, ooh, I really like that piece. Look at that piece. That piece is really fun. So I'm actually going to use that piece instead because it works better. So what I want to do is actually keep cutting into this until I get an area that'll actually fit the whole piece that I want. And you're probably going like, Devin, then why'd you even put that cork down in the first place? And as I said, it's just a filler. Sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't. It really depends on what I feel I'm going to need. So here we go. I'm going to have this piece that kind of adds a little bit of like a lip. And that's cool because I'll be able to put stuff under that, whether it's like grass or just different types of flock and stuff. So I'm going to put some glue on this cork right here, because I know I'm going to jam this piece right in there, which it'll glue that to. And then I'll probably take a little bit of this tacky glue just because I like to make sure that my bases aren't going anywhere. And you can see that's kind of, as I said, it's hard. And you're going to want to keep a paper towel close, just because you're going to have areas where it starts to like come out s'more style. And you're just going to want to probably take your paper towel and dab in there and make sure that you kind of get some of the excess off, because while it does glue, it does dry clear, you can have an issue where it dries a little bit too thick or something, and then when you try and paint the base of the rim of your base, it just looks weird, and we don't want that. Everybody's still following along, hopefully. So we've got the basic idea of my base. I know that his one foot's going to go here and his other foot's going to go right on there. I'm going to pull this tack off to make sure that it's meeting what I want. So I know that I want his one foot to go there. And I will obviously drill into this and put him on here so that he stays, and then I want the other foot to go over here. Now this area right here is not a very large pieces you can see. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm actually going to come in here with my X-Acto knife, and I'm actually going to cut into it and bring it down a little bit. And just by doing that, while I did get rid of a little bit of the height, I now made it very much, I'm sorry people that I'm using a phone camera and it doesn't like to always listen. So you can see there that it's now a little bit more level, and that's going to allow me, when I put him down, to have a more detailed area. And now you can see like his foot's up. You can see like a gap. Well, when I come back into it and I put down the, I'll probably put down more stuff just to make sure that he doesn't have that issue as much. And that's the cool part. As I said, you just kind of build up to it to make it work for what you're looking for. So I've got those two pieces. Those are my main two pieces. I've got my cork here, which I'm doing stuff for, which will end up getting covered in stuff. So now I'm just going to randomly start pitching some stuff into this so that we get a little bit of, we just get a little bit. And as I said, we still have this whole front area for playtime when it's time to put something that you want to kind of draw a little focus to. So much like Legos, I'm just going to start trying to find pieces that fit the idea of what I want, and I'm going to start putting those pieces into the mix so that they fill up the area and add even more to what I'm trying to do. So put a little bit there, which, as I said, it's kind of a pain in the ass to mess with, but I like how it glues. So post that in there. And we've got that. So we've got that. You see that? All right. So, as I said, I'm going to figure out what I want here. I don't know if I want to leave this area completely open and maybe pull out some circle bits to put in there, or if I just want to leave like a little bit of a gully, maybe put a stick there, like a log. I don't know. But for the back, I want to make sure that, so he is sitting on this, you know, getting ready to go to war. He, you know, as I said, I always like to have a little bit of story. What do you say? What's your opinion between white glue and wood glue? I like the white glue. Wood glue takes too long to dry. White glue, I can take a blow dry or two, and it does it really fast. The cool part about tacky glue is like these bark chips. I found them at Joann's, and a lot of times people who do like flower arrangements and stuff where they use the bark chips, they will use tacky glue, so it works very well. And I think it's stronger than Elmer's, so that also is a plus. And it's actually fairly inexpensive. So we've got that, we've got that. I want to start putting stuff around the back. So I'm just kind of pulling out little pieces, trying to figure out. And this is sometimes, you know, for some people can be the most frustrating part, but it can also be like some of the most fun. So like finding pieces that like can join in. So like I've got that one there. I'm just going to glue that bad boy right in this hole because you know, as I said, I don't really want to see the cork. The cork is not the goal. The goal is to have as much natural looking bark chips as possible. So being able to find tiny pieces to glue into the areas is really beneficial. And as you can see here, I just put this little piece here, and I will probably put another piece. Hey, mister. We're recording. Give me that. Give me that. Alright, so we've got that piece, we got that piece. I want to put another piece right here because that's going to cover up what I've got left of the cork, and then fulfill my first task. Bearski. Hold on one second. Here. Hold on 1 second, please. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Having a child can get in the way a little bit. So, I took this one piece here, and I cut into it, so you can see there that it's kind of flat. And the reason I did that is because I'm actually going to set it, like the other piece, against the cork. Trying to get it to focus. And once I put it against that piece of the cork, it's going to complete my first goal, which is to make sure that, as we said, make sure that the cork is not seen. So like that. So there's that. So we've kind of got this like gully look, and as you can see, it's all looking a little bit natural. And once you start throwing stuff into there, it's going to get very different and look very much have like a lot more dynamic thing. All right, let me take my son upstairs real quick before he yells again, and we can continue and finish. All right, now that we're past all that, thank you all for sticking with me. I apologize once again about the delay. I apologize about the interruptions. It has been a stressful night. All right, so we've got all those pieces done. I know what I want. I know where I'm going with it. He has, places that he's going to stand. Now I need to start filling stuff in to make it look as good as possible. So this is when I start taking pieces that have kind of a very gritty look, and I'm going to start carving into them to kind of flatten them out a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is because by flattening them out, I'll be able to use them in the middle area where the cork is on top, and then anywhere that I don't fill in, I will use the earth paste to mix it up. So I cut this piece into a very flat bottom, and that actually is going to go right here on the tippy top of this, like so. And it's gonna just add a whole bunch. As I said, it takes a little bit longer than just throwing your base into some glue and then throwing that into some sand. You're going for a very different effect, but the extra bit of time, especially when it comes to miniatures, as anybody knows, it definitely has a lot of benefits. And with as much as we spend on this hobby, we want it to look nice. Or at least I do. So, there we go. I'm getting that stuff covered up. And now you can see kind of why I said cork is kind of like a space filler. It would have been really hard for me to find a bunch of pieces that would have all fit the same size. So by using the cork right there, I was able to add a different texture and be able to give everything one cohesive height. So there we go there. So going into this next part is now when I need to decide what I'm going to do with this middle part. I also need to do a little bit to this. I will probably even that out using his... Now here's an interesting point. So by adding this middle part, I kind of... You can, but then you get stuff like this. And then you have to cut it down. And this works really well, Mark, on bigger bases and stuff. But when you use it on base like this, you have to cut so much that you kind of lose a little bit of that random nooks and crannies that you're looking at that you'll be able to put flock and sand into that'll really help it look better. So, I messed up a little bit, and by messed up, this is just a natural thing. So this thing has a little bit of height, and because of the Brawler's cod piece right here, loincloth, it's actually going to hit that piece, and that's not good. So I'm actually going to take and carve a little bit off on this. I'm trying to figure out where, though. Actually, I may not even have to. I just got to add a little bit of area for him to stand. Trying to move towards the back. Alright, so it's good. And that's, as I said, the cool part about bark chips and the stuff is that, you know, it's pretty simple to cut. So you can do stuff like carve it down and add the areas you need. And then if it's looking a little bit too unnatural for what we're going for, that's where we start using gravel and gravel and the earth paste to kind of fill it out. So I will put him in like that. And he's already going to be stepping up, we know. So put him there. I've now cut him a little area for his loincloth. Bada bing, bada boom. He is looking good there. Now, usually on some models, I would... Gotcha, the best rocks I ever used for basing was slate rocks I took from the Smoky Mountains. Where do you buy the smaller nuggets? I got them from Joann's. They happen to have a few bags in my store. If they do not have them in the store, you can find them in most of the like the flower areas of like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and Joann Fabrics. And if you can't find them there, they do have them on both Amazon and Joann online. So that's another way to do that. So I need to fill in this area because that is... His leg is going to cause a little bit of an issue because it's got a little bit of that raise. So I want to even that out a little bit. And I need to find a piece I'm going to do it with. I'm going to do it with this piece here. By just kind of patching it in, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to carve into this because I need a little bit of a flatter area to add some more. I need to add another piece in there that's flat to let him rest his foot. And I need to find a piece that's going to allow me to do that. And then if that doesn't work, as I said, then we go into the bark chip area. So, where's your foot going? It's going there, and then I need a piece that goes there. So I really want it to fit kind of here, but that piece is kind of messing me up. So I need to actually... And adding stuff in at weird angles, like if I turn this, if you turn that over a little bit like that, then it adds like more little gaps. And those gaps, as I said, can be really beneficial for mixing stuff in. So I'm going to put a little bit of super glue here just to add that initial base. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the tacky glue and just put a little bit there. The tacky glue definitely dries slower. And as I said, it's an absolute pain in the ass sometimes to work with. But I like how it makes things sit a little bit better. So, gosh, darn piece. Darn it. There it is. Alright. Okay, so yeah, any place that's got a floral area, nurseries and stuff like that, they also carry it. They help a lot. You definitely want to try and check and see if you can find it treated, because the treated material is definitely the best bet for what we're trying to use it for. So that's not going to work. Is that better? See, the interesting part about this piece we're trying to use is that how his foot sits, we kind of need it to be up a little bit. So that's gonna that's gonna work right there. And then, as I said, I will take these other areas, and it starts to look a little haphazard at first, because you're just kind of gluing pieces on, and it looks like a mangled piece of crap. But once you start adding like the sand, and you start adding the brown earth or earth paste in general, it really starts to tie it together. So there's that. Got all those pieces. I'm just going to wait for this to dry a little bit. I'm going to keep dry fitting him on here because I'm trying to make sure that I've got, I'm looking for, I've got a very specific goal in mind on how I want the final base to look. So in order to do that, I need to make sure that it fits what I'm working on perfectly, while also doing exactly what we started with, which was making sure that it's also effective on when I'm using it. So I'm going to have a little bit of hang there, and I don't like that. This is a little bit too flat there. So what I will actually end up doing here is probably taking another piece and figuring out a piece I want to use, cutting into it. And this is where I can use cool things like my so one of my favorite things to do is to actually cut straight into the bark chip, so it actually makes like an indented area, and then that indented area is actually where where I will often put a rune piece, because it will make it look more natural and like it just kind of formed into the area. So I created this little hole right there, and I'm going to try and put a piece of rune there that will bridge the gap, so that once I set him in there, he won't be as off kilter. So find a good piece that works. Breaking all the rules, cutting towards my hand. This X-Acto knife that I'm using, it has like, it likes to start like loosening up, and I hate that. I have a really nice X-Acto knife that I use for when I clean my models, but I try to not use that same knife when I do this basing, because like this kind of work is a little bit rougher on them than I would like. And especially when you're cleaning mold lines, you really want that stuff to be clean. No pun intended. I'm gonna put a little bit more glue in here, because as I've been working with it, I've actually loosened the bond a little bit. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Put that right in there. Okay. So we've got that. I want to add this piece here. I want to add something there to even it out. So that piece may not work, or I just, once again, X-Acto knife, cut it down to what I need. So I want I need a longer piece that fits like that. I need to cut this down like so. Super Sculpey is really easy to work with, and it cuts down super simple. And then all of the tidbits that you cut off, they actually usually fit right into the spot you need just as easily as the piece you were originally starting with. So that is a good point. Sometimes you completely botch that whole piece up and you gotta start again. You know, it's all about trial and error. You know, making sure that you have enough trial to make the pieces work. Alright, maybe I should work over here. Okay, so that looks like that's going to work. So I'm going to glue this into here. And then once this has glued in, then what I'll do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut pieces off this to make it look a little bit more haphazard, like it's fallen apart. Maybe I need to move this a little bit so you guys can see my little work area right here. Get rid of this. Alright, so his one foot's going here, we know, and his other foot's going to go on that. I've got to bring that piece down. Just a little bit, but down. So as you can see, it just shreds when you're working with the Super Sculpey, which is cool because it allows you to do a lot of to easily work with it and cut into it and, you know, make it work for where you want it. And then any extra pieces you have, you just use as filler if need be. So there's that. I'm actually going to cut into the side piece right here because I want it to not like take over the base. So you can see I'm just kind of cutting it. And I'm going to kind of grind into it because I want it to have like a natural look. I'm just kind of cutting into it a ton. I don't want it to look like it's I want it to have a little bit of a lip there, but I don't want it to look like it's been basically exactly what I did, which was glued there to fill a space. Put some more glue here, just to fill some, you know, make it work a little bit better. And let's see how he fits onto our base so far. So foot here, foot there, and bam! There we got it. That is looking good. See how that works? Okay, I might need to cut a little bit off this piece just to make it work even better. Just because I wanted to. And base is coming along. As I said, it's all trial and error, folks. As long as you're having fun with it and your models are looking cool, that's all that matters. So here's what we're working with so far. So he's sitting on there. Are there any questions so far? While we take a minute to just kind of breathe. Okay, so while I wait for people to type questions if they have any, I'm going to start looking at the next part. So we've got this here, which we know his foot's going to go on to, and I'll probably drill into the part here to put him into the base. This part is actually solid now, which is good. I need to add some more runes to this to kind of break up the monotony, so that when I'm painting it, it has, you know, as I said, you want to add. You just don't want it to be very plain. So I find the best way to do that is by adding different things to it, and then so that way when you paint it, it all kind of ties in together and adds its own, adds life to it. So since I have this little lip here, I'm going to use it to tuck a piece of rune into, like so. And I might fold it down a little bit so that, you know, as I said, weird angles are always the best angles because they allow you to have fun spaces. There we go. So I'm going to take this, look at it again, drive it right in there. All right. So there we got that. All right. So here's what we've got so far. Sorry, I had it too high. That's what we've got so far. The bomber that I showed earlier, his arms are magnetized, so that I can use the Blitzer bomber and Mauler kit, to save money, as I'm a hobbyist. I have 2 kits and they're all magnetized, and it wasn't as hard as it could have been, and that's mainly because I made sure to buy bits that fit the type of magnets I was using, so that was, super helpful for me. So we've got this area in here that we want to use. Let's figure out what we're going to do with it. So should we, and I'll ask you all, should we dig through the bits box and find out what circle stuff I have to start filling up space, or should we just start kind of filling it in with the earth paste and maybe add a little bit of gravel and dirt to it and move along? So that is up to you all. Definitely let me know. I know there's only 5 or 6 of you in here, but I thank you all for sticking with me and having fun, even though we've had a ton of trouble. So should I dig in the bits box, or should we fill it with brown earth? Sand and dirt. All right, Scott. Anybody else want to weigh in? You definitely can. If not, we're going with dirt. Okay, so here we go. Because I want to get on the thing. So we're going to get to look at some other stuff. So since we've got all that going, let's move on to something I wasn't sure if we were going to get into tonight, but I guess we are, because I don't do this unless I want to. So let me so since I'm done with my glues for right now, unless I decide to add more stuff later, and you can see me, I'm cleaning up my station a little bit, because this next part's about to get a little bit messy than I've been. We gotta get rid of that. There we go. Let's clean it off before I put that in here. Okay. Did I just glue my hand? No, I didn't. Okay, so that part's done. Alright. So we've got the basic base that we've been working on right here. Bing, bang, boom. I'm going to add more little bits and bobs to it as we go. But for the general part, this is what we've got. That looks pretty good. So next thing I'm going to do is, much like we did with Kogrima, or we're going to do a Kogrima. I want to add... Whew, he's teething. He is absolutely teething, and it is an absolute nightmare. So even though he is upstairs, he is just yelling at my door. And I feel bad because I don't want people to listen to that. But I also don't want to interrupt this any more than I already have to. So what are we going to use? We're going back to our Earth Paste by Vallejo. I love this stuff. It looks like Nutella, but does not taste like Nutella. That is the most important thing I can teach you tonight, is that Earth Paste, while it does look like Nutella, is not Nutella, and it does not taste anything like the sweet heavenly cream. So what I'm going to do with this is you're just going to get a glob of it, much like peanut butter. It's not all good. So we're going to put this in here, and it's going to get messy. So you're just going to kind of jam that in there just like that, just like spreading. And you're just going to kind of use whatever tool. You can see I'm using a butter knife. This butter knife is basically just for this task. So I can kind of meander this around. You see I'm putting it onto the cork. And what that's going to do, it's actually going to completely cover up what's left of that cork. So I don't have to deal with trying to put more over it to fill space. And then what I can do is I can actually, and as I said, it's very messy. So if it gets onto the rim of your base, try to get it off quickly, because it dries faster than you would assume, and it can be messy. So what you want to do at this point is, once you have it like this, you're just going to kind of throw, you're just going to start kind of dabbing it, and kind of giving it little, like little textures, like the ground would be broken up or something. And you can do a ton of stuff with this. I've played around, and I've made lava bases where the ground's like exploding. I've done stuff where I've made like rocky outcroppings. All of it's good. For this, as we said, Scott wants us to do just dirt and stuff. So for that, I'm actually just going to kind of mix this into the areas and kind of spread it around, just to make sure that it kind of ties the stuff together, but also looks, as I said, my ultimate goal is for it to look natural. So you can see that I'm kind of pushing stuff down. And after this stuff dries, you'll notice that, a lot of times I will glue sand right onto it. So that's what we're rocking with right now. Very simple, very easy, very clean. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take some more of our not Nutella spread. I got this. You can get this most hobby stores, most of your local game stores, if they carry Vallejo stuff. You can get it from basically any, usually game store. If they carry Vallejo products, they can get this. If not, you can get it on Amazon or online. A lot of stores carry it. And if you have a hard time doing that, send me a message, and I will definitely try and hook you up with some. I have some contacts with some stores, and I'm usually able to get some. So if I need to, if someone needs help, just let me know and send me a message, and we'll make sure you get some, because this stuff is awesome. So I'm now going to use it to kind of spread into the areas in the middle here, to kind of fill up the gaps, some of the gaps, to make where I choose to make the base seem more like one piece. And you can see, like, I'm just pushing it in there, and it looks like baby poop. It does. But when you are done with it, you're gonna have so many like little textured nooks and crannies and stuff that it's gonna look really good. And when you paint it up, it's gonna look fantastic, and you're gonna have a great time painting it. And a lot of people, I do a lot of like stuff that takes like forever to do, because I hate myself, and I like to not do anything that could be quick. But a lot of people can go over this, and because it's very textured, it's very gritty, you can actually dry brush right over it. And when you dry brush over it, you actually will pick up the edges and stuff. So it's very good. You can use this for speed speed basing too, so that's very good. So as I said, I'm just kind of grabbing a little bit out of here and just kind of sliding it into random areas because I want to add more depth, more texture, and I want to give the whole base in general a cohesive look, because it's all basically the same. It should all be the same land, and while it has different elements, it should be cohesive. So you can see I'm just kind of spreading stuff on here. Now, you don't want to go overboard with it. It can get easy to do that because, you're just kind of throwing it down and stuff. But as you can see, currently it has, we've got some good texture. Man, I wish this thing would focus. There we go. We got some good texture. I need to clean off the rim real quick to make sure that I don't mess it up so that when I paint, it's not all like gritty and looks like crap. When you use this stuff, make sure that you have paper towels handy. As I said at the beginning of the show, and make sure that you have an area that if it gets this stuff on it, that you can throw whatever it is away, or you just don't give a shit about it, because this stuff, as I said, is horribly messy, and it will stain clothing and your desk and your children and everything else. So that's basically what I want to do for that. So as I said, there you go. You see a good bit of it in there. You've got the different layers, different levels. I've got little nooks and crannies, which I definitely want. I will end up going back into this once this stuff dries, and glue. I will, before I prime, I'm going to glue some of that sand that I showed earlier into this area here and around, and some in here, because I want to make sure that all of it is textured and you don't see any of the base except for the rim. That is another one of my ultimate goals. So, and as I said, try and clean this stuff off your base as much as possible, because once it dries, barring an X-Acto knife, it's almost impossible to get off. So, and even with an X-Acto knife, it'll still look shoddy. So there I go. I got a good bit of stuff there. I got it looking like I want it to. Let's make sure that our big badass here will still fit on it, because if he doesn't fit on it, then all of this was for nothing. So I am like throwing him into everything. All right. Boom. Sorry, but what great dragon do you have on your arm? Oh. We will get right to that. So there's that. So he is on his base. You can see different levels. He's going to look pretty cool, hopefully. Looking at him from the side, that front ball does not overextend, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to actually set this base up here on top of that real quick, because I'm going to let that dry, which will take a bit. I like to give the glue and the earthing stuff a little bit of time. You can speed the process up by using a hairdryer, but I'm not going to torture you all with that. So Mr. Brawler here is done for the most part. So since we know that I've got all his room, so I'm just going to set him over to the side so that he can silently judge me. And then Charlie, I will show you real quick. So, and it's upside down, so I'm going to move my camera real quick. So there's part of my arm, and then lifting my shirt. So there's that. And then it's really hard to kind of look at my shoulder, so that's what I got there. I'm trying to look at myself in my other screen so you can kind of see this. So there's that, and it goes up. I'm sorry if that's bad lighting, but that's what you got. So, okay. All right, so there's my arm. So, last but not least, just because while I have the stuff out, I'm gonna knock this out real quick. Because I said I wanted to if I did this. So here's our big, bad, cold bitch. I want to add a decent amount to her because I want to add different levels, and I need to tie this giant-ass Creelstone into the rest of the base. So what I'm going to do is we're coming back to the rune pieces, and I'm just going to start kind of mingling them into it, because while I don't want them to be a main focus, because we have the giant Creelstone in the middle, which should be other than her, should be just a focal point. We're going to throw some of these in here by cutting them down and just kind of gluing them in, because they'll add just a little bit of, they'll break up the monotony, as I said, a little bit, and that's all in all a very good idea. So I'm just going to glue this little bad boy in here. No harm, no foul. And as I said, you know, try and have fun with your basing, because if you are having fun with it, then you're gonna end up liking the end results better, and then it just all in all will make you a happier person. So I'm just gonna patch that there, and then we're gonna come over here, and I'm gonna throw another piece into this nook here, because I can. And I'm trying to tie stuff together. Like that. And see, I know it's not a lot, but it's something. And then, because I already have my earth paste out, I'm gonna knock this part out because I can do it quick. So I'm basically just going to spread this into this area, because like everything else, I'm trying to tie it in. One thing I do have to be careful for is I'm not trying to like absolutely cover up my Creelstone, so that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but I do want to tie the Creelstone into the rest of the materials on the base. So you can see me like kind of throwing stuff in there. You can kind of see. So just by putting that in there like that, so you'll see that there. That makes it look like it's actually like embedded in the ground. It's kind of a cool effect you can do using this paste. I'm going to definitely put it around the back, and I'm actually going to get some onto the Creelstone here, just because I want that texture. I don't want it to look too perfect. So we're just going to tie that in there. And you know, you can build up layers with the earth paste. So once I do this layer, you know, if I want to let it dry and then come back and do another layer, I definitely can. Earth paste is also really good for hiding imperfections. If you have an area of your base that just is, you've worked on, or you just don't like in general, it just starts to piss you off, use the earth paste to kind of fill that area in, and then let the textured goodness just kind of take over and fix the problems for you. So, as I said, I'm going to kind of pull it away a little bit, because I want it to have like that natural, like it's embedded, and when it dries, whew, Nick, don't I know, he is teething. So that, as I said, was not a focus of mine, but I'm working with what I got. So put that there, and You know, I kind of want to tie a little bit. So I like that hole there. But I still want to tie it in because I don't want it to look like there's this huge gaping maw. So I'm going to kind of figure out how I want to get that in there. And this is sometimes where it's good to have like a little smaller piece tool to use, because the earth paste, since it kind of covers everything you use it on, you know, by doing stuff like this, you can kind of make a little bit more of a mess. But, you know, by putting it in there like that, you know, kind of filling in that hole so it doesn't look like it's a huge, you know, gaping hole, even though there is a huge gaping hole there where I created lift when I was creating the basing. There's that. I got a little bit on the rim, which I'm immediately going to get off because that can be problematic. And now, while it may seem like it's taking me a while to build this base, and it does, you know, in general, you can definitely see where it takes longer than glue and then pop in some sand onto it. This happen. I can go a lot faster, and you do this a lot quicker when you don't have, when you're not trying to teach others or have a screaming baby in the background. So those are definitely interesting and important facts to remember when basing like this, and before you make a decision of whether or not you want to base in such a manner. So, bam. So already I have her area looking much more dynamic, cohesive, which, as I said, is always a goal. You want to add texture, you want to add levels, because that's how, you know, makes it look good. And once you get to certain parts, you know, you're going to be mixing in your flock. You're going to be adding in different elements to bring that organized chaos together. But this is just the base. This is just the groundwork, no pun intended, for you to get to that point. So there we go. So that's what I got, if I can get that thing to focus. Right, so grab her, take a look at this base. So we've got her base. If you can't see that, there we go. So you got her base. She's got like these jutting rocks out. You can see where she has the, I'm just trying to get this to focus. Not the highest quality videos you gentlemen have probably seen, but I'm trying. So there, she's got a lot of different aspects to her. She's got her base. She's got her stone. The stone's got texture on it. I like that. I filled in all the gaping holes where somebody, you know, might see like the issues. Any other holes that I might find on this, I will add flock to fill in, so it looks like the grass is growing out of like crevices and stuff, which is always a real fun idea. Actually add some here because I don't want, I like that gap there. As I said, I use this butter knife a lot, but it, you know, it's usually better when I have like a Q-tip edge, or a Q-tip, like the middle from a Q-tip that I will use, because I can then fill in areas better and more precisely. Alright, let me get that piece off. As I said, the stuff's already drying pretty quickly, so I could probably come down in an hour and it would all be done. How do I plan on flocking it? So very much, we find a piece that's very similar. Here we go. Nope, that's not similar. Alright, I intend to flock it very similar to this. Let's see if I can get some better lighting here. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to focus on. There we go. That's how I intend to flock it. So I like the leaves, like the dead grass. You can see the different layers of stuff. Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing to focus. It really likes a piece of paste. And you know, just by adding those different layers and stuff, you can see how it just looks very natural. And then I like to go in with the Secret Weapon. I love the Secret Weapon dry pigments. I did a video on it. And I will go over a lot of the different textures that I added into it. And it makes, you can add, you know, if you add a little bit of liquid to it, you can make it look muddy. And then if you put it on dry and then spray alcohol over it, you can make it look very dusty. So that's what I like to do there. All right. So tail can die. And here we go. Grab this. So I have done snow bases in the past on commission. I do not have any examples of it today, though I could probably do something in the future. I'm intending on maybe adding a colder feel to Colgrima here, because I want her, you know, she's obviously an ice queen, ice witch, so I want to make sure she has that cold feel. So I would not be surprised if I added a little bit more to her base with that. Probably not snow, but you know, you get the idea of that. I'll probably go with very cold saturated desaturated colors when it comes to that. But what I can give you is that I think it's called crushed glass. Yeah, that sucks, but I think it's called either crushed or pigmented glass, and it's basically powdered snow, and you can mixing that with a little bit of water effects, hold on, let's see what I got here. So you could take a simple snow effect such as like this snow powder like this, or other snow powders, and if you mix it a little bit with like still water or other types of like artificial water stuff, or like a resin mix, you can actually make it into like a wet snow. So that looks more natural, and that's a lot more fun. So I always suggest that. I'm trying to see if I have anything else in here. For anybody who's curious, the flocking that I'm using comes from a company called Gamer's Grass. They're available at, I guess, gamersgrass.com. I am super blessed that they give out these little sheets every year as samples at the Nova Open in Arlington, Virginia. And I've been going enough years that I've just gotten a collection of them. And I basically exclusively use these samples anymore because I've just gotten so many over the years and stuff. And they work so well that I'll actually take these, I'll cut them down if I need to into smaller pieces and then glue them where I need them. And you can see, just looking at it, like they have like a really natural look to them. I love it. And they have a little bit of glue on them. Of course, I glue them down using a pair of tweezers and stuff. But cutting them down is super easy, and gluing to stuff, so I do that a lot. But yeah, this Gamer's Grass, they're very good. So yeah, I have a ton of this stuff. These were all samples from they gave out for different years at Nova, and I've gotten tons of them. So they're a very good company. So I definitely suggest you give them your money. Charlie, we are definitely, so you'll definitely be able to come back and check our videos on the Facebook, and this live video will be there. I'm hoping, depending on Dowdark's schedule, that since I shot this video sideways, that he will be able to pretty it up a little bit, maybe cut out the screaming baby some, and then put this up on our YouTube. It's kind of a new thing for us, so, you know, we're still learning, obviously. And once again, I very much apologize for my son. He gets very excited. He's teething, and, yeah, so it happens. Otherwise, are there any questions, anything else anyone would like to see? You know, we've gotten the base on Colgrima. She's going to be having a ton of, I'm going to be mixing some stuff in. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see her. I'm going to try and do a few more videos where I feature her, because I am really getting excited to have fun with her, so that'll be fun. We've got our base for the Brawler, as you can see. Now the stuff is already drying. I will probably hit it with the blow dryer some, just to speed up the process, because I want to get some more work done. I will post final pics of what they look like before before I prime them, so that will happen. Otherwise, yeah, so I am open for any questions right now. You've got me, use me. I'm just going to clean up while I wait. And I know not many people are still here, but, you know, for those that are, you got what you need. And if you're all happy, you know, definitely let me know in the comments, because I'm definitely reading them. I have considered it. Mark. It's something that I would like to do. So, I mean, it's definitely something, if you have something you're interested in and you want to let me know, you know, definitely send me a message or send the channel a message. And I'll get, you know, I can always get into contact with you. And, you know, we can try and do something. For me, as I tell most people, if it's something that I find interesting and I think is going to be fun, I'm definitely willing to give it a try. You know, of course, in smaller bits first. But, you know, it's, as long as it helps out the community, I'm always willing to do that. So, definitely, if you're interested, hit me up. Send me a message, and I can let you know. Actually, yeah, so. Any other questions? Any other things you guys want to see? I am just, as I said, I'm just cleaning up my area. I had fun tonight, so that makes a lot of difference. Actually, super happy with how that turned out. Well, while I wait, I will show off some of my fun stuff I'm working on. So, I am working on Berka. So you can see, I have done a few lessons, coaching things that people have asked me to. Trying to get it to focus. My camera hates me. There it goes. I have so much still to do on him, but he is coming along. I am going to be doing something very fun with all of my bears. So Berka's bear is first, so that's a fun one. I've got some repairs to do on my gristle. I'm excited to paint this owl for Colgrima, so I'll probably do a stream when I paint it. I have a really cool scheme I want to do that I saw, and so I'll do that. And yeah, no problem, John. You know, I'm always down to teach people, so, and have fun doing it. So You know how I am. All right. Well, doesn't seem like I have any other questions. So, in the end, I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Once again, I'm sorry for any of the loud noises or people, the screaming baby, and anything else like that. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in to an Advanced Maneuvers live video, and hopefully you learned a little bit more about basing tonight. Have a good night.